Limu was pushed into the operating room by a group of doctors. At that moment, he only had one feeling, discomfort. But what's strange is that there is no feeling of fear. The lead surgeons, faced with such a young life on the verge of withering away, they racked their brains to fight with death for this life. They used all means at their disposal. CPR, defibrillator, everything that could be used was employed. They applied 2 chest compressions to Limu's heart. Unfortunately, one's fate is not determined by oneself, as the electrocardiograph no longer showed any activity. The lead surgeons also knew that they were powerless to turn the situation around. They stood there for a long time in silence, regretting that they were unable to snatch this young life from the hands of death. Limu's consciousness kept sinking. He seemed to realize that he was about to die. But the heaviness in his mind made him feel like he was falling into an abyss. He was powerless to resist anything, only allowing his consciousness to sink deeper and deeper. He didn't know how long had passed. It seems like 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. One day, he suddenly heard some noise. Limu slowly opened his eyes slightly. He felt his body light and floating. Did he come to the world after death? Immediately, he heard someone say, "Don't leave. Just bury him here." How did Limu die? He's so young. He hasn't even gotten married yet. But just as they were talking nonstop, Limu, who was lying on the tattered straw mat, suddenly moved a bit. And then he got up and began to crawl. Limu unconsciously spoke up and asked, "May I ask?" But he didn't finish his sentence. The 2 people instantly froze in place. Goosebumps instantly covered their bodies. Then, they both screamed out loud. They quickly ran away. Limu scratched his head, feeling a little confused. Just then, it seemed like his head was about to be torn apart. Countless pieces of information flooded in at this moment. Zhou Nation, Yangqiu City, Limu, Constable, and so on. A large amount of information that did not belong to him surfaced. It was so painful that Limu felt like he was close to death. After a long time, Limu digested those memories. He seemed to realize that he had been reborn. And the owner of this body is also called Limu. It's just that this body now belongs to a different Limu. Limu tried singing, dancing, and rapping. Oops. Oops. After singing, "You're beautiful like a chicken," oops. Limu happily discovered that his body had become much stronger than before. But suddenly, Limu became distressed again. Where should I go now? At this moment, a sudden wail appeared behind him. Curiously, Limu leaned closer. Limu discovered that a small fox had accidentally been caught in a trap. Limu intended to step forward to help it out of its predicament. Unfortunately, animals have a naturally cruel nature. They fundamentally do not trust Limu, the human. With bared teeth, they want to scare away the person in front of them. Limu reassured, saying, "Don't worry, I won't hurt you." Then, step by step, he approached the trap on its leg. With a click, it rang out. The little fox quickly jumped out. After she had walked far away, she turned back and said, "Thank you, young master, for saving my life." Limu subconsciously waved his hand and said, "Don't mention it. It's not a big deal." But as he spoke, he suddenly froze in place. The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. Was that the fox speaking just now? Immediately, he let out a loud cry. He started running wildly as he took a step forward. Until a quarter of an hour had passed. Limu panted and came to a stop. He needed to quickly find a place with people. But autumn is a time of many events. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of Limu. The leader. That's the infamous demon leader. The leading woman pointed at the sword handle with one hand and shouted, "How dare you, you demon! You dare to occupy the county office in the absence of the officials. Leave immediately."
Limu instantly panicked.
What demon are you talking about? It's not me. He had a strong sense of impending disaster. This is not good, he thought about the incoming trouble. The woman also stopped talking nonsense. She drew out her sword directly. And then, with a calm expression, she spoke, "Don't move. Limu, make a move. What are you going to do?" But then the woman shouted loudly and pointed her sword at Limu. In an instant, a pure energy enveloped his entire body. After a moment, Limu's body was emitting white vapor, almost blinded by the dazzling light. Just when he couldn't understand what the person in front of him was doing, the woman spoke again. "Just need to confirm. Who are you?" Limu awkwardly pointed at himself, as if making sure he was being asked again, but he still subconsciously said, "Yangqiu City's Constable Limu." Then the woman pointed to herself again. "What about me?" Limu gave a straightforward answer this time. "Li Qing is the leader." He then continued before Li Qing could ask, saying, "I don't remember those 2 men behind you."
No impression.
Li Qing took out a gossip plate again and aimed it at Limu. "Look at this." Limu looked over in confusion. Suddenly he realized that the face of this body was quite handsome. But other than that, there was no other reaction.
Li King siga.
No problem. If 3 hun is separated from the body for too long, it will lose some of its memories. Then she waved her hand and said, rest at home for these few days. Soon everyone returned to Yangqiu City. Limu was carried in the middle. You brat, you even forgot about us? But you're really lucky. Well, anyway, just glad you're alive. Let's go. Coming back to life is a big deal. We should have a good drink tonight. Li Si said, bury your mat for 50 coins each. You'd better pay up early. Limu felt embarrassed. But I don't remember if I have any money left. Zhang Shan said, it's okay. We are co-workers. I will remind you when the salary is paid. It should be paid in a few days. Let's talk about the money later. Let's go have a drink first. In a dark and secluded forest, a group of foxes is playing and frolicking. The flower fox that was saved by Limu during the day reported the incident to the leader. The leader was puzzled, asking, you fell into a hunter's trap, and then a human noble rescued you? The flower fox nodded. He freed me from the animal trap and told me to be careful in the future. The leader sighed deeply. This is troublesome. Saving a life is indeed a great act of kindness. However, on the other hand, Limu lay on his own bed with a look of spring in his heart, a smile on his face. He kept his eyes tightly closed. He tried hard to remember the appearance of those bunny girls from his past life in his mind. He tried hard to imagine those enticing figures, doing the one-handed move that everyone loves. Unfortunately, he could only maintain it for 2 minutes. Limu then reluctantly put down his hand. He sighed in frustration. It seems like it's still not good enough. Can't I even have the only pleasure of being a man? After a long while, he stood up and poured himself a cup of tea. He did this to calm down. It has been 3 days. That aspect is still not working. It seems like I have to go to a medical center for a checkup. At this moment, a pleasant voice came from outside the door. Startled, Limu sprayed the tea in his mouth all at once. He quickly put on his shirt. He kept muttering to himself, why did leader come at this time? Limu opened the door and was about to speak when he saw Li Qing taking out a bag of silver. This is 2 months' salary. The extra month is compensation for you. Limu joyfully accepted it. But before he could say thank you, the door was slammed shut by Li Qing. Limu stood still in a daze. In his heart, he had already imagined Li Qing in 18 different poses. The next day arrived in the blink of an eye. Limu walked out of the medical hall with an anxious expression on his face. The customer official wanted to see the launch? I don't know if the medicine from this medical hall can solve that problem. At this time, a shout caught Limu's attention. May the goddess of fertility bless us with a child. An old Taoist pinched a talisman paper in his hand. The talisman paper was abruptly ignited and then quickly inserted into the teacup by the old Taoist. Immediately, he handed the water cup to the lady in front of him. As long as you follow what the old man said, drink this cup of talisman water, and you will be able to have a child. The surrounding people looked puzzled, but they felt like it seemed quite reliable. At this moment, the old Taoist squinted slightly. Noticed Limu in the crowd. Then he coughed twice. Everyone, let's end here for today. I'm closing my stall, the old Taoist said. The people dispersed after hearing this, right? Since there was no show to watch, everyone went home. Limu also sighed. Just a trickster in the Jianghu. Boring. But suddenly, a strong and powerful hand gripped him. Limu looked at the old Taoist with a displeased expression. Do you have something to ask, Taoist? The old Taoist shook his head. No, no, no. It's not me who has something, it's you. Limu was speechless. Could it be that my forehead turning black will bring a disaster of bloodshed soon? But the old Taoist continued to shake his head. Then he leaned closer to Limu, with a ferocious look on his face, and said, your 3 hun may be present, but your 7 pu are all lost. Without a chance, you will meet your end within half a year. Limu slapped the servant, word on his chest, and shouted angrily, do you see this? Keep spouting nonsense and deceiving others, and I will kill you. The Taoist saw Limu was about to leave and said leisurely, life and death are destined, wealth and honor are in the hands of fate. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. But today, let me give you a clue. It might bring you a glimmer of hope. Would you think it unreasonable to charge you 800 coins for this? Limu couldn't stand it and retorted again. I think you're crazy about money. I would pay you 8 coins just for those few words. But before he could finish his sentence, he realized that his wallet was missing. In an instant, he almost understood who was behind it. Limu stepped forward, intending to teach this old Taoist a lesson. But just at the moment of contact with him, the old Taoist suddenly disappeared. Limu stood frozen in place. His mind was blank at this moment. He maintained this posture for a long, long time, until he figured it all out. Limu wailed, Taoist, immortal, master, please come back, I believe in you. Old immortal, I truly believe in you. Please explain clearly before you leave. At this moment, Li Qing walked over. Limu, What are you doing here? Limu said aggrievedly, I have no money now, and I'm nearly destitute. Li Qing said speechlessly, didn't I just give you your salary last night? How did you run out of money again? Limu immediately recounted everything that had just happened. Of course, he conveniently skipped the part about going to the doctor for medication. Limu asked, do people really have the 3 hun and 7 per? Li Qing nodded, yes, they do. But you are not a cultivator. Why do you ask about these things? Limu felt a bit embarrassed under her gaze. She said haltingly, I'm just curious. What happens if 7 per is lost? When she didn't respond, Limu poked his nose and asked again, Leader, are you looking at my 7 per? Li Qing shook his head. Unfortunately, my cultivation is not enough. I can't see it clearly. Limu sighed at the words, seeming to resign himself. But at this moment, Li Qing said, however, 7 per is related to the physical and spiritual aspects. If one truly loses the 7 per, they will naturally differ from ordinary people. Humans have 7 per, each with its own role. The 7 per are divided into Shirgo, Fushi, Feidu, Tunze, Kain, Chuhui, and Xiufei. Shirgopa mainly responsible for perception, without it, prone to drowsiness. Fushi mainly responsible for perception and consciousness, without it, prone to being in a daze. Tunze mainly responsible for eliminating toxins, without it, prone to becoming ill. Feidu mainly responsible for sleep, without it, prone to insomnia. Chuhui is mainly responsible for metabolism, without it, unable to metabolize. Xiufei is mainly responsible for breathing. Without it, breathing is not smooth. As for Kain, mainly responsible for the reproductive system. Li Qing weakly asked, can you still get up in the morning? Limu scratched his head. I really haven't been sleeping well lately. I can only get up around noon, Li Qing said embarrassingly. I mean, that. Limu suddenly seemed to understand. His gaze shifted downwards. Cold sweat suddenly broke out on his face. No way. His body swayed for a moment. Li Qing hurried forward to support him. What's wrong with you? Limu exclaimed in fear. My 7 per is really gone. Leader, do you think I still have a chance? Li Qing can't believe it. How is this possible? Could it be that you are not separating from the per normally, but under the influence of evil? Otherwise, how could 7 per disappear so quickly? As she spoke, she reached into her arms to search. 7 per was completely lost. Evil energy easily enters the body. This talisman can protect you from evil spirits. You must carry it with you at all times. I'll go back to the yamen to consult the classics. You wait for me at home. Limu nodded touched. The leader really doesn't know how to thank you. Actually, I have more than one problem right now. Leader, you help others to the end. Can you? But Li Qing turned and left before finishing speaking. Limu watched the figure moving away into the distance, urgently sweating and shouting, Leader, could you lend me some money? However, in the end, Limu was unable to get his wish. We are all poor. How could there be money to lend him? Limu muttered to himself as he walked. Now even life is at stake. No money left either. Looks like I have to borrow from someone else. Unexpectedly, he bumped into Zhang Shanlisi while lost in thought. Limu thought to himself, I must borrow money from them today. Zhang Shanlisi also had the same idea. I must make this kid repay the money today, he thought. The three embraced each other warmly. However, each of them had hidden motives. They were all very cunning and deceitful. Lisi said, I saw you with the leader just now. You're usually so afraid of her. How did you suddenly become so bold? Did she give you a pay raise? Zhang San replied, it's the 10 coins from a few days ago and the straw mat. Let's consider it as a favor between brothers, and I won't charge you interest. Limu chuckled and said, I was just about to talk to you guys about this. I accidentally had my 2-month salary stolen. Can you lend me some money again? I'll pay you back next month when I receive my salary. Zhang Shanlisi frowned. Then he turned around and left. However, when they left, they still felt guilty and left a few pieces of broken silver for Limu. Limu felt warm in his heart. They were indeed good brothers. Limu, who is not well off, can only eat some watery porridge and pickles when he returns home. Although they have borrowed 2 taels of silver from Zhang, Shan, and Li, it can only last for up to a month at most. Continuing like this is not a solution. How can I, a time traveler, end up in such a miserable situation? Suddenly Limu realized something. Yeah, I'm a time traveler. As the saying goes, the most profitable methods are all written in the penal code. Let me see if there are any loopholes to exploit. I want to do some business and make some money. He found the long-lost Zhou Nation Code of Laws from the bookshelf, and then he read it under the candlelight. All Zhou Nation officials and servants, regardless of rank, are not allowed to engage in business. Limu's face turned dark immediately followed by a series of foul language that was not meant to be repeated, coming out of his thatched hut. Unconsciously, it was already light out. Limu wandered around this small county town, but he didn't find any money-making opportunities. At this time, two people attracted Limu's attention. The old man said angrily, "Just a few lines written in a month. Can we still eat this meal?" The scholar begged, "Please give me more time. Writing a book depends on inspiration." But the old man didn't care about your inspiring nonsense. "I'll give you 3 more days. If you can't produce it in 3 days, get ready to pay up." Limu thought for a moment. Writing a book is a good way out. However, I need to do some research on what genres are popular now. Thinking of this, he stepped forward and asked, "Shopkeeper, do you have any good book recommendations?" Soon, Limu was led inside. Limu looked at the best-selling books on the bookshelf. They were all about romantic and mysterious stories, supernatural beings, and so on. Limu sighed as he thought to himself. From ancient times until now, it turns out that everyone's preferences are so similar. Limu asked, "Which books sell well?" The elderly man immediately took out a best-selling book. "The best-selling ones are books on cultivating immortality. Second, that kind of indescribable subject matter is also quite popular. There's more. Brotherly love, which city girls are obsessed with, is also quite popular." Limu chuckled. After realizing what he needed, he left directly after patting his butt. The old man saw this and chased after him. "You're not buying?" Limu ignored him. "Now that the money matter is settled, let's go home first." When Limu returned home, he found that the gate of his house was open. He cautiously peeked inside and found that Li Qing had arrived. He breathed a sigh of relief. "Leader, why are you here?" "I thought it was a thief," Li Qing said unkindly. "Is there anything worth stealing in your home?" Limu was stunned. However, he also felt that what she said was right. At this moment, Li Qing said, "Right? I have consulted many ancient texts and finally found a way to save you." Limu exclaimed in surprise, "Really? What method is it?" Li Qing replied solemnly, "The first method is Taoist cultivation. Taoist cultivation is a method of cultivating the Tao. All living beings in the world can cultivate. The first realm of Taoist cultivation is refining the Pi. The 7 Pa govern the physical body. By refining the 7 Pa, one can take control of the physical body and remain immune to hundreds of diseases and resist all kinds of evil spirits. Ordinary people practicing Taoist cultivation need to refine the 7 Pa. But since your 7 Pa are all lost, you need to first recover the 7 Pa. Recovering the 7 Pa is much more difficult than refining them. However, the advantage is that the 7 Pa you recover will be your own, allowing you to control them freely. There will be no need for further refining." Limu furrowed his brows slightly at the complexity of this. He then asked, "Are there any other options?" At this moment, Li Qing's face darkened. In a deep voice, he said, "Then I'll have to become a ghost." Upon hearing this, Limu jumped up from the chair. "Become a ghost? Doesn't that mean dying?"
Li Qing explained.
"Before your 3 hun are bogged down by the physical body, abandon the flesh and turn to demon cultivation. From then on, exist in the world in a state of soul." Limu shuddered unconsciously. He thought of the horrifying ghosts from his past life. If he were to become like that too, he might as well just die. Limu got excited. Unconsciously, he grabbed Li Qing's hands. "Stop talking. I'll choose the first one." Li Qing unconsciously shook off his salty pig hand. "Since you choose Taoist cultivation, I respect your decision. But the methods of 7 Pa cover are different. Which Pa do you want to recover first?" Limu pondered for a moment and said, "Lately, my sleep has been extremely poor, and the cold I caught doesn't seem to be getting better." Li Qing asked, "So do you want to recover from the fever first, or the cough?" Limu's tone became more serious at the words. "Of course, it should be to eliminate the cough first." Li Qing pursed his lips. "I knew it. Joy, anger, grief, fear, love, malice, desire. These 7 emotions are the foundation of 7 Pa's birth. The pur of sadness is born from the emotion of grief. I will first teach you the basic methods of guidance." Limu sits cross-legged on the bed. Following Li Qing's instructions, he starts practicing. First, inhale through the nose into the abdomen. When it reaches the feet, stop. If feeling short of breath, exhale gently into the air. At this moment, Li Qing pointed his finger at his brow center. Concentrate and maintain a vigilant spirit. Use your mind to guide this strand of magical power. Limu followed suit. After guiding this strand of magical power to circulate several times through the body's 4 limbs and 100 bones, a strange and wonderful feeling slowly surged through his whole body. Li Qing said, "I have left a trace of magical power inside you. You must guide it diligently. There can be no slack in cultivation. Only then can you have a glimmer of hope." Limu slowly opened his eyes, and then he nodded solemnly. Li Qing saw that it was almost done. She was about to leave when Limu called out to her. Limu said awkwardly, "I forgot where I put away my saved salary. Is there any way to help me remember past events?" Li Qing looked around and asked, Do you have yellow paper and cinnabar here? Soon, a talisman paper was pasted on Li Mu's face.
Li Mu muttered.
This is the leader's favor and my several tens of coins. It must be effective. Li Mu uses a special hand gesture. A faint and almost imperceptible magical power lit up in his hand as he shouted loudly. Then he heavily tapped his own forehead. Countless memories immediately emerged in his mind. But with so many memories flooding in at once, his head began to ache in that tearing pain once again. However, he still found the location of the small vault. Li Mu secretly rejoiced, just as he had expected. How could a single dog like himself without a girlfriend not have any savings at all? In the kitchen, Li Mu opened the stove and took out a package from inside. He carefully opened it up. He found that it was filled to the brim with gold. Li Mu excitedly started rapping and dancing on the spot because his days of eating plain porridge with pickles were finally over. But suddenly he hesitated. Several images flashed through his mind. That alley held memories of the day he had his accident. Although not knowing what happened, it must be related to his death. Afterwards, I must investigate thoroughly. Thinking about it, he shifted his gaze to the talisman on the desk. The leader said that this thing's effect can last for 12 hours. He must make good use of it. So he took out the 4 treasures of the study and utilized the effects of the talisman. Read the novel Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio from his past life. He wrote them out while recalling the memories. Several hours passed quickly. Li Mu stretched lazily. It's a good thing he had read Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio several times back then. At this moment, Zhang Shan's voice came from the courtyard. Li Mu furrowed his brow slightly. Sure, but he still got up to go outside and take a look. Zhang Shan said, Leader said you had an accident. I came to see how you are. Nothing serious, right? Li Mu laughed. I'm fine, doing well. Zhang Shan asked in confusion. Why do you still look a little happy? Li Mu still smiled undiminished. You came at the right time. I found some silver at home. I can repay you the money I borrowed from you before. Zhang Shan exclaimed joyfully. Really? That's great. But there's no need to rush between us brothers. At this moment, Li Mu saw a red gas emerging continuously from Zhang Shan's chest, drifting towards himself. Nan, Li Mu was stunned. The 7 emotions and colors, joy represented by red. Could this be what the leader referred to as joy and emotions? At this point, Li Mu's smile changed. It became mysteriously inexplicable. It became intriguing. At this moment, Zhang Shan couldn't wait any longer. Li Mu, the silver you mentioned earlier? Li Mu slapped his forehead in frustration. Yes. Unfortunately, I accidentally lost it when I went out. Zhang Shan turned into stone on the spot. If you got closer, you could hear the sound of his heart breaking. His surging joy came to an abrupt halt. But then Li Mu said, Fortunately, a child found the silver. Upon hearing this, Zhang Shan slowly breathed out a sigh of relief. Don't speak in such a rushed manner, Zhang Shan remarked. But then Li Mu's tone shifted once again. In short, the situation has been fluctuating back and forth. Zhang Shan can't take it anymore. He keeps going from fright to joy. It's so difficult for him. He quickly called for Li Mu to stop. Let's talk about the silver later. Let me rest in the house for a while first. My head is a little dizzy. It feels like my body has been emptied out. In the end, Zhang Shan did get back his own silver. After squeezing Zhang Shan, Li Mu apologized and said, I'm sorry. I took so long to give it back. Zhang Shan got the money. Happier than ever, no blame towards Li Mu. All brothers here. No need to be polite. I'll take off first. Li Mu waved his hand to say goodbye to him. Zhang Shan is easy to deceive. It's also easy to absorb emotions. But it also takes time to do it gradually. Don't reveal everything at once. Next is Li Si. Li Mu has a big smile on his face, calculating the next plan. The land of fireworks. The ladies at the door saw Li Si approaching. They warmly greeted one by one. What wind has brought you here? How have you been lately? Li Si smiled and said, Thanks to your blessings. But at this moment, a voice called out to Li Si, and he asked, Who is it? Do you need me? Li Mu took out a bag of silver. Money owed to you before. Now I have it on hand. I'll pay you back first. Li Si doesn't hold back against him either. Just snatch his money bag directly. Since you are fine now, you will be in charge of this street from now on. After finishing speaking, he waved his hand, walked into the brothel with a calm face. Li Mu was stunned in place for a moment. Where is your joy? Could it be that Li Si actually regards money as worthless? It seems that we need to find another way. Next, Li Mu continued to do good deeds. Just for that little bit of joy, such as helping old ladies cross the street. He doesn't even spare stray cats and dogs. But working tirelessly all day long, the joy of harvest is scanty. Unexpectedly, helping a dog turned out to be the most rewarding. Li Qing asked, You have only been practicing chi perception for a few hours, yet you are already able to sense the 7 emotions. How did you progress so quickly? Li Mu seemed as if he hadn't heard. Still immersed in his own world. Li Qing asked again, "What is your date and time of birth?" After Li Mu told him, Li Qing started to calculate with his fingers. After a moment, he looked at Li Mu with a shocked expression on his face. 4 pillars of pure yang.
No wonder.
Li Mu was stunned for a moment. What does it mean? Li Qing explained, pure yang in the 4 pillars refers to a pure yang body born in a year, month, day, and hour of yang energy. They are naturally able to gather spiritual energy upon birth. If they embark on the path of cultivation, they can easily surpass ordinary people in their realm.
Li Mu secretly rejoiced.
In other words, Laozi is truly blessed by nature, isn't he? But at this time, Li Qing poured cold water on him. Don't be too happy too soon. A special cultivation physique is a great tonic for monsters and evil cultivation. Once exposed, there is a risk to life. Li Mu heard that he might become food for evil. His face immediately fell. Then what should I do?
Li Qing comforta.
Don't worry. As long as it's not leaked out, no one can easily figure out your physical condition. And this is a county town. Evil doesn't dare to cause trouble. I'm going on patrol. After you have collected enough 7 emotions, I will teach you the method of Piwa. Li Mu watched Li Qing's figure go away into the distance. He still felt somewhat anxious in his heart. Doesn't it mean that the evil in the county town dare not cause trouble? But why did it feel like he was dead before? Forget it. I don't want to think about this anymore. Let's continue patrolling the streets. At this moment, a woman caught Li Mu's attention. She was constantly stopping people on the crowded street, as if she was seeking help from someone. Li Mu saw that everyone was ignoring her. He suddenly felt displeased. The morals of society are deteriorating. It's really outrageous. To actually ignore someone so pitiful. He immediately stepped forward and asked, "Do you need any help?" The woman inquired, "Sir, can you see the commoner lady here?" At this moment, a person walked over and passed directly through her body. When the person saw Li Mu staring at him intently, he impatiently cursed with a swear word. But Li Mu was already stunned in place at this moment. Didn't pay any attention to the person cursing at himself. But Li Mu's reaction was still very quick. He immediately turned around and pretended that nothing had happened. The sun was so glaring today. It just blinded me and I couldn't see anything. After he finished speaking, he started running. Now he regrets that his parents didn't give him 2 more legs. Li Mu ran wildly for 15 minutes. Finally saw the savior. "Leader, there really are ghosts." Li Qing's expression changed when he heard the words. She looked at Li Mu with a puzzled expression. Li Mu immediately rushed over, grabbed Li Qing's leg, and shouted for help. Li Qing kicked him, sending him flying out. Then he put his hand on the sword hilt and shouted, "Where is the ghost?" Li Mu quickly got up and pointed behind him. He said firmly, "It's over there." But when Li Qing looked over, there was nothing there at all. Li Mu also looked over in horror, only to find that the ghostly woman from before had disappeared. At this moment, Li Qing spoke. "She is still there. Calm down first. Channel your energy to recover to your eyes." Li Mu followed suit upon hearing this, but ended up with a cockeyed look. Li Qing impatiently taught him how to correct it. Li Mu finally recovered his magical power to his eyes. At this moment, he also saw the ghostly woman of the Min tribe. Li Qing said, "No need to be afraid. She is just the lowest level sinister imp." Li Mu asked, "Will everyone become a sinister imp after they die?" Li Qing shook her head. Not everyone has the opportunity to recover as a sinister imp. There is a great obsession in the heart. Only those whose wishes are not fulfilled have the opportunity. Li Mu said, "She was just asking for help from others. Is there still an unfulfilled wish?" Li Qing stepped forward. "Just ask and you'll know." At this moment, the woman fell to her knees with a plop. "Two sirs, please help this woman. I am willing to be an ox or a horse in my next life." Li Qing stepped forward and helped her up. "Madam, please get up. How can we help you?" The woman was in tears at this point. "I beg you to save my child. My parents and husband are no longer here. I am also unfortunate and ill." The two of them soon entered the private residence. Discovered the body of the woman. The woman said, "Although the woman is dead, but the child in her arms is still alive, without anyone to take care of him."
I'm afraid.
The woman wanted to reach out and touch the child one last time, but as she got closer, she withdrew her hand in fear. She was afraid that the negative energy in her would harm the child. At this moment, Li Mu muttered softly, "Leader, do you think she can still be saved?" Li Qing shook his head. "Unlike you, she is already dead. His 3 hun are only being propped up by a strong attachment. When the attachment disperses, she will also disappear completely." Li Mu sighed at the words, knowing that he was being too idealistic. He asked, "Madam, please feel free to tell me if there's anything I can do to help. Is there anyone trustworthy who can take care of this child?" The peasant woman said, "I have a brother named Wang Dong who lives in Wangjia village to the west of the city. Please, sir, hand the child over to him. Don't let this child be left witout support. The peasant woman expressed endless gratitude. Limu nodded and said, Don't worry. I will definitely hand the child over to him. Upon hearing this, tears welled up in the peasant woman's eyes, mixed with a sense of joy. Li Qing said, This joy of gratitude towards you stems from a mother's care for her child. This joy can be regarded as the best reward. At this moment, the peasant woman's body slowly began to dissipate. Now she could leave in peace. The baby in her arms seemed to sense something and suddenly cried loudly in the direction of her mother. The peasant woman's heart couldn't bear to leave, but she also knew that her time was running out. Live well, my child, she said. When her fingertips touched the child, she disappeared completely. Limu's mood was not very good at this time. He muttered to himself, I will definitely keep my promise. Limu and the others quickly delivered the baby to Wang Dong. Just as they were about to leave, Limu couldn't help looking back from time to time. Li Qing comforted him. Wang Dong looks good. He should take good care of the child. Don't worry. At this time, Limu asked, Leader, you previously said that Wang Shi is the lowest level sinister imp. Do ghosts also have ranks? Li Qing nodded. Of course. Above the sinister imp, there is the resentment imp. Above the resentment imp, there is the wicked imp. Limu's scalp went numb instantly. Is this world so dangerous? Li Qing continued, but there's no need to be afraid. People have good and evil, and so do ghosts. When you encounter them, just treat them with respect and keep your distance. She went on, speaking of this, she changed the topic. I just didn't expect you to find a way to collect the 7 emotions so quickly. Incidentally, today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. Every month on the new moon, full moon, and the evening before the Mid-Autumn Festival are the best times to smelt 7 pu. I will now teach you the formula for making pu. Starting from tonight, you can begin to practice condensing pu. Soon, the two of them returned to Limu's residence. Li Qing immediately taught Limu the formula for condensing pu. Pure qi, 9 repetitions. Suppressing evil and treachery with pu. Heavenly beasts guard the gates. Gentle ladies hold the keys. 7 pour soft. Let us coexist peacefully. Do not act recklessly. Watch and observe the origin of shapes. Li Qing's voice lingered in the quiet night sky, catching the attention of a young girl next door. She mumbled with a mouthful of steamed buns. What is there to do in the middle of the night? After speaking, she looked to the side and said, Miss, the neighbor next door seems to be crazy. The young lady replied calmly, Ignore him. Let's go to sleep. Upon hearing this, the young girl bounced back to her room with the young lady. Soon it was the next morning. Limu was fast asleep. In a daze, it seemed like he heard singing. Well, it was like the howling of ghosts and wolves. Limu's head was aching from the noise. He cursed and walked out of the room. Who the hell is screaming so early in the morning? It's disturbing people's sleep. He saw the neighbor next door, who indeed had a good appearance, but what she sang was really not commendable. Limu scolded. What kind of screaming is this early in the morning? Can't people sleep anymore? The lady was first stunned, but the next moment she reacted. He actually said it was her who was screaming? At this moment, Limu looked at the neighboring yard and suddenly saw a stream of gas rising. Red is happiness. This is resentment. Miss said angrily, What time is it and you're still sleeping? Are you a pig? Even pigs can't sleep as long as you do. Limu really has a bad temper. You're really getting cocky, huh? Don't blame me for it. Who told you to disturb my peaceful dream? He coughed twice, cleared his throat and then shouted, I'll sleep if I want to. What's it to you? The lady retorted, I'll sing if I want to. It has nothing to do with you. Sleeping is my own business. Your singing is disturbing me. Other people are fine. Why are you always causing trouble? Who do you think is up as late as you are? Limu sat in the courtyard, accumulating a sense of resentment. He sighed a few times, and the feeling of resentment has subsided. He yawned and was planning to go back to sleep. At this moment, the lady shouted, Come on, keep going. Why are you quiet? Are you scared? Limu stretched lazily and said, I won't play with you anymore. I have to go sell my masterpiece today. The lady felt she was being played. She angrily slammed her clothes onto the rack. At this moment, the young girl asked, Miss, what's wrong? Why are you so angry? Who made you angry? The lady said angrily without calming down at all. I'm angry with that pig-headed person. It's driving me mad. She quickly calmed down her emotions. Let's not mention him anymore. After scolding for half a day, I'm so thirsty. I'm going to get some water. The bookstore is over here. The shopkeeper glanced at the strange tales from a Chinese studio that Limu handed over, occasionally exclaiming with praise. The stories are well written. Especially the story of the fox demon. It's really rare to come across. Limu chuckled. Isn't that obvious? That's strange tales from a Chinese studio. The two quickly reached a deal. Limu came out of the bookstore. His thoughts also became varied. Now all the bookstores in Yangqiu City should have been visited. Whether he can get rich or not will depend on this. Also, today Yangqiu City is very calm. There isn't even a chance to help others. Limu was thinking about heading home when this happened. The neighbor's miss suddenly brought out a plate of water and splashed it at him. Fortunately, Limu reacted quickly enough. Otherwise, he would have been completely drenched like a wet chicken. He looked over with an unfriendly expression on his face, about to start swearing at someone. He just saw that incredibly beautiful face. Limu's mouth suddenly stopped. At this time, the young girl said, "Miss, let me do this kind of work." The young lady did not respond to him, but instead gave Limu a glare. She then let out a cold snort. "Wanwan, let's go back." Wanwan was a bit puzzled. "Miss, what's wrong?" At this moment, Limu greeted her with a smile. Wanwan politely returned a smile and then ran back. Limu could only admit that he was unlucky. He just didn't expect that the lady next door was quite good-looking, but her temper was too bad. At this time, the sound of Wanwan came from the neighbor's house. "Miss, so it turns out our neighbor is a constable. We don't have to worry about bad people bullying us in the future." Limu, who hadn't gone far, happened to hear it too. Out of curiosity, Limu lay down by the wall to listen at the base of it. At this time, the young lady said coldly, "Aren't you afraid that he will bully you?" Wanwan said, "No, I'm not. He looks so handsome. He doesn't seem like a bad person at all." Limu heard it. In his heart, it was so beautiful. This little girl is so cute. She also has good taste. Miss doesn't sound very pleased. You, oh you. How can you judge a person by their appearance? The more good-looking someone is, the more likely they are to deceive others. Some people may look put together, but in reality, they can't even get out of bed in the morning. Wanwan can't say much, can only nod in confusion. Then asked, "Miss, you're not eating again?" "You eat it yourself. I need to watch my figure. When you're eating, don't let me see it or smell it." Limu by the wall suddenly laughed. "I didn't expect you to have this weakness. You can't not eat, miss." Limu quickly returned to his own yard. He started a fire in the yard. Then he placed a stone slab on top of the fire to bake. When it was almost done burning, he spread lard on the stone slab. Finally, he placed the sliced meat on the stone slab. With a sizzling sound, the aroma of the meat started to waft in the yard. Limu deliberately wafted the aroma towards the neighbor's house next door. The aroma quickly floated over. This is all within Limu's expectations. It smells so good. The neighbors should react soon, right? At this time, Wanwan is hanging clothes in the yard. Suddenly, she twitched her nose a few times. Immediately after, her stomach unknowingly growled. The young lady asked, "Wanwan, did you smell something?" Wanwan looked towards Limu's house. It seems to be next door. After Limu's cooking, the tantalizing aroma of freshly cooked teppanyaki wafted over. Limu looked at his masterpiece. He secretly liked the instructional video for the chefs. At this moment, two little heads poked out from the neighboring courtyard wall. Miss T angrily asked, "What are you doing?" Limu chuckled maliciously twice.
I'm cooking.
"Can't you tell? You go elsewhere to do it." "Why? This is my home. You are bothering me. Just bothering you. Why doesn't it bother others? Just bothering you. Just bothering you. Just bothering you." Just when the two were quarreling fiercely, Wanwan's gaze had already fallen on the slate. She was also lost in a reverie, imagining how good it would be if she could eat such delicious meat. At this moment, Limu sighed. Forget it. Forget it. I was wrong this morning. To express my apologies, how about I treat you two ladies to a meal?" Wanwan immediately nodded in agreement upon hearing this. She was just waiting for Limu to bring it up. But Miss was puzzled. She glared at Wanwan. Then she angrily said, "Even if I, Lu Hanyan, die, I won't eat anything from you, even if I jump from here." Limu was not angry, because his intention was to anger this bad-tempered young lady to death. Lu Hanyan turned around and left. Wanwan helped me back to the room to rest. I feel a bit dizzy. But Wanwan still seemed reluctant to leave. However, she had to listen to the Mississippi. She helped her back to the room. Lu Hanyan took a look at herself in the mirror. Did I get angry too much today? Why do I feel so tired? At this moment, a knocking sound came from outside the courtyard. Lu Hanyan ordered, "Wanwan, go see who is knocking at the door." Wanwan responded and then walked out. At the moment Wanwan opened the door, she saw Limu's handsome face. Limu chuckled and said, "I am Limu. I have come here specifically to apologize to Miss Lu." As he spoke, he handed over the roasted meat in his hand, saying, "This is a small gift. I hope she can accept it." Wanwan's mouth watered instantly. With a determined look, she said, "Thank you. Then we will accept it." She quickly took the roasted meat inside. "Miss, the young man named Limu came to apologize and brought this to us as a gift." Lu Hanyan turned her head and said angrily, "Take it away, take it away. I don't want to see his things." Wanwan saw this. She had to turn away. She then picked up a piece of grilled meat, put it in her mouth, and chewed a few times. The indescribably delicious taste exploded on her taste buds instantly. Lu Hanyin was speechless. Come on. You think everything edible is delicious, don't you? Wan Wan brought the grilled meat to her. Miss, you should still try it. I have never eaten something so delicious before. Wan Wan saw that she was a bit hesitant. He continued to persuade her, saying, just try it. Just one piece. Tasting one piece won't make you fat. Lu Hanyin looked at the grilled meat that was still emitting a tempting aroma. Unconsciously, she swallowed her saliva. She inexplicably picked up the chopsticks. She quickly picked up a piece of grilled meat and put it into her mouth. However, once she started, she couldn't stop. Lu Hanyin then quickly picked up the second piece, the third piece, until unconsciously, she had eaten all the grilled meat. Meanwhile, Wan Wan started to cry. Miss, I only ate one piece. Lu Hanyin finally reacted. She touched her slightly bulging abdomen. Her small face blushed all of a sudden. But right after that, Limu heard her roar.
Surnamadli.
You ruined my weight loss plan. We are at odds with each other. Limu doesn't care about you at all. He happily absorbs the anger from Lu Hanyin. Limu is coming to work as usual at the government office. Just ran into Chief Zhou by chance. Chief Zhou looked at Limu in confusion. How did you come here? Weren't you resting at home? Limu smiled and said, I'm almost recovered. I've been too idle recently. I want to find something to do. Chief Zhou said. Before, you were timid and avoided trouble. You would hide if you could. If it weren't for Miss Li Qing's verification, I would have thought you had been taken over by a monster, said Chief Zhou. Limu felt embarrassed. I just thought the yamen would be safer than home, he explained. After saying that, he corrected his thoughts inwardly. If it weren't for the convenience of indulging in the 7 emotions within the yamen, who would be willing to come to work, he thought. Zhou, the head catcher, heard what he said. He was also speechless. You're indeed the same old Limu, he thought. All right, if you want something to do, go check in with old man Wang. He's got quite a few cases on hand. Limu nodded and went to the backyard. Just as he arrived, he heard old man Wang shouting angrily, this time, I've got a big bet. Immediately, Zhang San picked up the dice cup and shook it vigorously. Accompanied by shouts of big, he heavily slammed the dice cup on the table. Then the answer was revealed. 1, 2, 3, small. At this time, Limu walked in. Zhang Shan, are you cheating old man Wang out of his money again while on duty? Yangqiu City's copy secretary, servant old man Wang, asked in confusion, why are you here? Limu walked up and patted his shoulder. Old man Wang, you go back to the office first. I will find you later. Zhang San immediately stood up to stop them. If you win, you can leave. Have you lost your sense of honor? At this moment, Limu sat down. Let me gamble with you for a couple of rounds. Zhang San was stunned for a moment. Didn't you used to never play before? Limu said. Suddenly wanted to play today. Zhang Shan was very happy. Then don't blame me for not showing mercy. It won't be long. In the midst of gambling in the room, Zhang Shan's laughter was frequently heard. 2 threes, I win. 5 fives and a 6, I win again. In no time, Limu lost over 10 coins. However, Limu not only did not show any signs of anger, but was even happy to lose money. This was because he had gained a great deal of joy from the experience. Limu asked, are you still coming? Zhang Shan, looking tired, slumped on the table and said, I'm done playing. Although I won big today, I feel tired for some reason. Limu smiled and said, let's play again next time. He added in his mind, spending just a few copper coins can buy so much joy. I'll let it go for today. Soon, Limu arrived at the courtroom. At this moment, old man Wang was snoring heavily with his head resting on the table. Limu knocked on the table. Old man Wang, wake up. Old man Wang drowsily opened his eyes. Limu, you looking for me about something? Limu nodded with a smile. I've been quite idle recently. Could you do me a favor? Help me find some cases I can handle? Old man Wang said. That's easy. I'll help you take a look, Limu replied. A moment later, old man Wang took out a dossier. Several villagers' sheep in Zhangjia village were bitten to death. There was no blood on their bodies at all, Limu said. This won't do. I still want to live a few more years. Old man Wang then took out another dossier. Fishermen near Bishui Bay reported to the county government that there was a water ghost haunting Bishui Bay. Limu shook his head again. The next one. Old man Wang looked through the dossiers again. Squire Zhang's father was just buried for 7 days, and the tomb was dug up. The body also disappeared. Won't you help me find this one? Limu helplessly slapped his forehead. Old man Wang, I'm looking for cases, not looking for death. Old man Wang shrugged and said, there is a zombie outbreak in the neighboring Zhou County. The people in the entire village have turned into zombies. The county magistrate is gathering cultivators from nearby counties to suppress them. Will you go? Limu turned around and walked away. Farewell, it's getting dark soon. Limu grumbled as he kicked the stones on the side of the road. What kind of demon, ghost, or corpse is this? This case is not something a normal person can investigate. At this moment, Limu suddenly felt a chill all over his body. He was stunned for a moment,